Hello friends, welcome to the next video of How Did I Get Here? Series where I talk about the last 5 years of my life being homeless. Let's get into it. Nevada and Utah. So, Nevada and Utah, there's only really two major things that happened. Both of them deserve a video in their own right. One of them I've already made 2 videos about, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on that topic. So let's talk about the American Discovery Trail. I came into Carson City from California. So I'm in Carson City, getting ready to go on the ADT, the American Discovery Trail. Now here's the thing. I want to talk a little candidly for a moment. I did not do any research on the American Discovery Trail. As with many of my trail walks, I don't do a lot of research on it. And I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. I just like surprises and, adventure. So I would always recommend other people do their research. So I did not do research on the American Discovery Trail. And I am now in the north, and it's starting to get cold, and there's going to be a lot of snow. And I knew it was going to be a challenge and possibly kill me. But it is what it is. Let's have fun, right? Like, life, you feel the most alive when you're on the edge. So I get on the American Discovery Trail in Nevada. Now, here's the thing with the American Discovery Trail. Basically, what it is a bunch of trails. It's not one big trail like, the AT or the PCT. It's a bunch of smaller trails that are connected together. Sounds pretty cool. But sometimes, in order to get to those connecting trails, you gotta, road walk and stuff like that. I did not realize this when I first started walking. And, there was a lot of road walking. And eventually, I just forged my own path. I had thought I was going to just be walking trails the entire time. And eventually, I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to go my own way. I'll just use the ADT as a guide. So I'm in Carson City, Nevada, and I start heading east. First thing I remember, I saw some horses. I don't know if they were wild horses or not. I believe they were wild, but maybe they weren't. I found this beautiful artwork right here. I did not make this. I just took the picture, but that was so dope. That's cool. I keep walking Nevada, and I'm walking trails. I'm zigzagging everywhere. It starts getting colder and colder and colder. It's around this time I probably got my backpack, my ultralight backpack. But at one point I was walking the highway. I had passed out right outside of a little town, tiny town. Like, I'm talking population less than 500 people. And I woke up to 4 deer just right next to me. I do have a video or a picture of it. Hopefully I can find it and put it in here. And I remember I got into that town the next morning. I was so cold. It snowed, and I went into that town. I noticed there was a motel, and I went into the motel. I was like, how much is the room? And a woman, she looked at me. She's like, $20 for you. We give discounts for people roughing it. Awesome. And yeah, I stayed a night in the motel, day and a night. Got out next day, left, continue heading down the road. I remember I passed by this grave from the 1800s, a lot of native ruins and stuff, but Nevada's very beautiful. Very, very beautiful. Eventually, I made it to Ely, Nevada. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I know in previous videos, a lot of people jumped on me for pronouncing it wrong. And there was a trail hike from Ely that I walked. It was a killer trail, man. Up the mountains, snow on the ground. And here's the thing, previously when I had to deal with snow, it would snow for a day, and 2 days it'd be melted. Here, it snows. That's it. That snow's there all season. And I'm walking through a foot of snow up this mountain. Still got my boots at this point, thank goodness. And, I get through that hike very good. That hike was very easy to do. I remember as I crossed into Utah, I remember I crossed into Utah, and, like right on like the Utah Nevada line, there's a casino. Like it's right just in the Nevada, like right in Nevada, just this casino, and then you walk 10 feet and you're in Utah. Casino that's so people from Utah can go gamble because I guess uh, Utah. I don't know if gambling's legal, but I would venture to say it's probably not, or at the very least, very heavy regulated. And I get into Utah, and let me say this. There's kind of a stereotype of Utah where they're like the friendliest people ever. You know, like everyone's a Mormon, they're all friendly. 100% the stereotype is true. 100%. The amount of good hearted people I met. Like, I've met good hearted people everywhere, every state. But Utah, it was at least once or twice a day, somebody was stopping. You know, are you okay? Do you need anything? I had people offering me, you know, like their house to like, you know, would you like to come live in our house for a little bit? Right? Like Utah, they're everyone there is just so kind. And you know, Moab at this point was my destination. It was kind of off of the American Discovery Trail, but Moab is a place I always wanted to go to. You know, I've always been into like extreme sports. You know, I used to skateboard, I used to mountain bike, do all this stuff. Uh, you know, I didn't have a mountain bike to mountain bike in Moab, but I wanted to hike all the trails. And honestly, I thought about just going to Moab and staying there for an extended period of time, like living out in the woods and finding a job for like a month or two, and just hike all the trails. That was my goal. And then I got into this little town, and I remember I was charging my phone up at a pavilion, and this woman called me over. She's like, you know, would you like some pizza? Sure thing. And she said, okay, I'm right across the street. Come on. And she invited me into her house. I sat down. I got to eat pizza. They gave me a lot of like really warm clothes. I already had a lot of warm clothes, but they gave me even more. And they were just so nice. And I asked the guy, you know, there's this trail I'm looking to hike. What can you tell me about it? And he told me, don't do it. Absolutely don't do it. You're going to hit like 5 feet of snow up there. You will die. And I left. And, you know, in my head, I'm thinking, you know, I took his concern seriously, but I'm thinking to myself, he doesn't know what I've been through. I think I'll be fine. I've got two videos on this channel about this hike. One's like a vlog video, and the other is kind of a reaction to that. But I'm going to retell the story here from memory. So I start walking up this mountain. And I should mention, at this point, my boots fall apart. I don't have boots anymore. And the only place in town that sold any kind of shoes only had like tennis shoes. You can probably see this is going to be a problem with the snow. And it was. I do have wool socks though. And those wool socks saved my life. Always wear wool socks when you hike in the snow. I start making my way up the mountain. And everything's good. It starts off as a gravel road. And then I get to this little area where it has like a map of the mountain. And for some unknown stupid reason, I had cleared the cache on my phone. I think I had needed to save space on my phone for videos and stuff. And so I started clearing cache and data and everything. And I cleared the cache of my Google Maps. And I had no phone service. So whenever I opened up Google Maps, it was just blank. And yeah, I didn't have a phone service to re-download. But there was a map of the entire state park and all the trails, and I took a picture of it so I could kind of reference that. I start walking up the mountain. Eventually, the gravel road is covered in snow, but there are snowmobile tracks. And I'm thinking to myself, as long as I walk in the snowmobile tracks, I'm good. Because, snowmobiles, they drive over it and it packs the snow down really good. So, it wasn't like powder snow, it was packed snow. So I could walk on top of it without sinking in. I'm good. This ain't going to be a problem. First night I sleep off in the woods, not an issue. Perfectly fine. I'm very warm as well. My sleeping bag and my sleeping bag liner, working in tandem, kept me very warm. Even in like the frigid cold. I should have mentioned this. In Ely, it got down to, I think it's -7 degrees or something, -20 with wind chill. And even then, my sleeping bag, even though it wasn't rated for that cold, that with my liner and the clothes I was wearing, it did very well. So, cold wasn't that big of an issue for me on this hike. For now, anyway. I'm climbing up this mountain. I'm following the snowmobile tracks. And I remember some snowmobilers passed by me. Like, you okay? So, yep, I'm just going to hike this entire thing. I'm like, you got to be careful. Snow gets really bad up ahead. Okay, I appreciate you. Eventually, I make it to the summit. And I get to a point where there's no more snowmobile tracks. People who rode their snowmobiles basically turned around at this stage. And now I'm walking in about 3 feet of snow in tennis shoes. Thank God I had wool socks. Seriously. For those of you who never worn wool socks, I cannot describe how valuable they are when you're walking through snow, when you're wet, when you're cold. They're amazing. And I'm walking through like 3 feet of snow. And even with the wool socks, my feet start to get cold. And even worse, they start to get wet. If you can, I'm not going to put a picture of this up here in this video. But if you can imagine having your feet like soaked in a bathtub for 12 hours, how like pruny they would be, that was my feet. And I'm walking on that. And eventually what I had to do was I had 2 dry sacks and I put them over my feet. And I had some paracord and I tied the paracord around it. And that was basically to keep snow and water from getting in my shoes. That was amazing. It was amazing. It worked out perfectly. Just my feet were no longer cold. I remember I said in the video, I had like 20 miles left. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to make it these 20 miles today. There's no chance I don't. I have to, or I'm probably going to die. I think I maybe walked like 8. Just because, I'm walking in like 3 feet of snow. Eventually, I find this gravel patch that didn't have snow on it. I don't know why it didn't have snow on it. Thank goodness it did. It was right on the roadway. Like I was in the middle of the road. There's no cars or anything going by it, but it's in like the middle of the road where the road should be. And I was able to make a little fire because, I had cotton balls and alcohol, so I had some fire starter. And I just found some twigs. They were wet, but I was able to get a fire going. And, just dry off my socks, my shoes, dry everything else off. I went to sleep right there for the night. I woke up, I continued onward, making no progress because the snow is so deep. And I'll never forget, like, my saving grace. I came right up over a hill, and I see tire tracks. I don't know who you are, But to the man or woman who decided to drive their truck into the middle of nowhere in 3 feet of snow, you probably saved my life. There was no car or anything. It was just tire tracks. But what that meant was I can now walk in these tire tracks. So instead of walking in 3 feet of snow, I can walk on this compacted snow. My feet aren't sinking into the snow. I'm staying warm. And I remember I walked that for a little while. Starts snowing again. I slept off in the woods. I remember I woke up covered in snow. It is what it is. It happens. I had my tarp over top of me. Like I didn't even like really make it into a tent. I basically like just put it over top of me, and I woke up and it was covered in like a thin layer of snow. I woke up and continued walking and following those tire tracks. Eventually, I got to a point where snow was kind of gone. It was just like gravel roadway again. I'm walking down. It was a switchback. I'm walking down the switchback, and eventually I make it into town. I remember before I got into town, I was walking towards the gas station. A police officer drove up to me and, hey, are you okay, man? I'm okay. It's like a lot of people called, someone walking, just making sure, like, you're okay. You're not in no trouble. You're just. And I said, hold on, I walked the entire mountain, but I'm alive. And he was kind of blown away. He's like, that's insane. And I asked him, is there a place I can get some hot food around here? He said, you just go up here and they got pizza. So I go up and it's a little gas station. Walking to the gas station, I grabbed an extra large pizza and like a Monster energy drink, and I'm completely beat. And I just sat in a little pavilion right next to it, and I ate that whole entire pizza in like 10 minutes. I don't remember where I slept that night. I can't eat. I stayed in that town for about a week, but I know the first night I didn't sleep in the spot I did the rest of the week. I might have slept right on that bench in that pavilion. I think I might have done that. I might have just crashed out right there because I was just so out of it. I genuinely can't remember. So the next day I wake up and I got some more food. There's a Dollar General there. There's Dollar General there. I got some food from Dollar General, like food I normally eat, like peanut butter and ramen noodles and beans, other canned stuff. And I got some supplies there. But I ended up staying in this town for about a week, just because I've been through absolute heck. For that week, I stayed in a storm drain. It's kind of my go-to place. It was very nice. I remember I stayed in that storm drain. I tied my there was like metal rebar on the storm drain, and I had tied my tarp to it so the wind couldn't penetrate, and I stayed so warm in there. After that, I went on my final hike on this little journey, and that is going to be a video for itself because all of my longtime subscribers have been waiting for that video, and I want it to be its own thing. So that's tomorrow. As always, thank you all for the support. I love you all, and thank you, Patreons. I will see you all tomorrow. Peace out, everybody.